Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
Real estate experiment. What is happening, y'all? Today, I have a special, mostly overdue guest. That is the lovely Julie George in the lab with us. Now, Julie, before you even say anything, because I am more excited that you're here. I don't care what you say. I'm more excited than you are. I promise you. To have you in the lab. I need you to give, I want to give you the introduction that you deserve. So you and I met, I told this offline, via Clubhouse. What a time to be alive with technology. And you just have such a humble beginnings and story. And at the same time, you're kind of like this, oh my gosh, Julie, the superstar rock star. Like everybody wants to be like Julie. And you're just so charismatic about it. I was just saying this offline, but to put it into perspective, if you're watching, if you're listening to this, you're about to hear Julie's voice, and it's just so much love, and it's just, I can see it. This is why Julie was hosting, over 130 properties, because she just has a big of a heart and obviously a big team. And in her first year, she was able to gross $1.4 million in her first year, and all collectively before her exit had grossed over $9 million worth of bookings, 8,000 plus reviews. She's the author of the $1 Million Host, and today loves to teach people how to do it, including myself. I am a student of the game, and make sure you guys go get your copy. I will say that early on because you must get your copy of $1 Million Host. But without further ado, I want to welcome you to the lab. You are dialing in from far Australia. All the way into the lab. Welcome, Julie. What's up?
Thank you. G'day from Australia. And
look,
we are a day ahead of you. So I'm going to tell you the future looks pretty bright for the short-term rental industry, and being in Australia myself, but so excited to finally put a face to your name, Ruben. We've spoken on Clubhouse. Now I get to see your face. And yes. I can't wait till we have an in-person event where we all get to catch up together.
I know. And I got to say, by the way, I'm all about branding. And that intro that you got is fire. She said, I'm in the future, and the future looks bright, y'all. Did you hear that? I love that. That's good vibes right there. You make our future brighter by just being able to share your experience with us. So, Julie, I'm super stoked. I feel a little selfish today, guys. I got to say, Julie is here for us, but she is here for me today as well, because I have my notepad over here, guys. I always sit in the lab. We have our notepads out. We're ready to learn. And I want to give a little context, because I've learned through Julie virtually a lot. We've been in the same clubhouses. I've listened to her podcast. Shout out to Michael Strogren and E. Those guys, I love the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. And when I first heard your story on there, I was like, wait, hold up. You mean to tell me you had a long-term tenant for over 10 years, and you decided, what's all the fuss about this Airbnb? And you tried it, and then you're like, I just kind of like tripled what I would make in a week. And then you just decided to not look any further back. So, Julie, I always say you're a reflection of your business, like we are. So I gotta maybe talk about Julie before we talk about the operation, because the operation follows Julie, right? So who is Julie before that? I know you're a licensed broker, or I guess licensed agent. I don't know if it's the same thing in Australia. You're a licensed broker, correct? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so take us back a little bit, because I think it's good to get some context, because we see the number, we see the gain, and you did it in such a short amount of time. What was going through your head? Were you always that like, okay, I'm hustling here to get something better?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go right back. Let's talk about my upbringing. I grew up in the wilds of Kakadu, which is in the Northern Territory. And for anybody who's watched Crocodile Dundee, that's not a knife. This is a knife. That was how I was living. My father was the original Crocodile Dundee. My first job was feeding wild crocodiles. I've still got all my fingers. But look, I grew up in tourism and hospitality, and studied hospitality at university. which I, at the time as an 18-year-old, thought was a housewife course. I learned how to cook, I learned how to clean, I learned how to, do all that fun stuff. But from there, I actually came across to America. So I worked in the North, in California, but I was working there for 18 months in 95, 96. So I'm giving you you've all figured out how old I am now. That's old. But I was working there promoting Australia as a tourism destination and just loving working with the North American market and just making those connections, forming those relationships. And look at, we've come 360 now. Here I am back again working with the North American market, inspiring and motivating and really hoping that I can get people to take note and replicate the same success I've had in the sharing economy now with the short-term rental business that I developed. So look, my love has always been hospitality. It's relationship building, it's networking, it's building a personal brand. So that's the other thing that you'll see. You'll hear a lot of me. I'm not shy in coming forward. I will tell you numbers. I will tell you details. I'm an open book when it comes to how I've succeeded in this business, because I think if people can take inspiration from that, then my job is half done. I love giving back to the community. So there you go. There's a short intro.
I like that. There's so many questions there. It's interesting because I didn't even catch that you actually had studied. You said hospitality.
Yes, hospitality management was what I studied at university, and because I really wanted to get into running a hotel one day. And isn't it bizarre that all of a sudden I had 130 instant hotels that I was running in my portfolio? And at the peak of running my short-term rental business, I had 400 to 500 guests per night staying in one of my properties, which was more than the biggest hotel in the city. So I the dream started back in my late teens, where I thought, I want to look after people and I want to offer a hospitable service. I just didn't know that it was going to be in the form that it is today. So it's
So from the time, Julie, I got to ask you, from the time that you launched that first first short-term rental or converted, what were you doing prior? Were you selling real estate and you got into that, and were you doing other things, or was it just primarily real estate?
So to give you a quick, to fill in the gaps. So after I worked in North America doing the tourism side of things, I came back to Australia, and I was working, a combination of tourism and hospitality jobs. I was working out on the beautiful Great Barrier Reef in Australia, on one of the islands as the human resources manager. So it was a bit of a different take. But then I realized that I was a crap employee. I hated being told what to do. I really didn't like, being told that I had to turn up to work Monday to Friday. So any of your listeners out there, don't employ me. I'm not the best employee. But what I really decided I wanted to do was to be my own boss and to have that financial freedom, to have that flexibility, to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. So I started up a couple of little businesses. Now, the businesses at the time, I've done a combination of errand running services. So before Uber Eats or before we've got anything like that, I started up an errand running service for people that couldn't get out of their home, whether they were ill or they didn't have a car to go and get their items for them. So that was one little service that I offered. A secretarial service. When my son was born 23 years ago, he, as a little baby, I thought, well, I can type and I can do up resumes or I can do documents. So I was offering that service, but I really didn't find something I was passionate about, and that was what was missing. But over time, with my businesses and with my JOB, I was able to buy a few investment properties, and I loved real estate. And so when the time, I guess, the last major JOB I had was working for a phone book company, and I was selling Yellow Pages advertising. That's right, folks. Remember, before Google, we had Yellow Pages. And so I was out there pounding the pavement, working on commission only and selling phone book ads. For 10 years I did that, until I reached a complete burnout, corporate burnout. And it really took its toll. So I guess that was the light bulb moment that made me think, do you know what? I want to be my own boss, and I love real estate. Maybe I can find a passion there. So from selling real estate for a little while, where I was very bored sitting in open homes, I then decided that, I guess that light bulb moment went off where I had my own property. The long-term tenant moved out. I moved some linen in. I connected the Wi-Fi, took some photos, put it on Airbnb. Suddenly the returns were there. Suddenly I was able to use my own property, and cha-ching, the light bulb moment of, wow, I could do this for other people. And I could actually set it up in that I could leverage other people's fully furnished properties. I could take those properties, put them on short-term rental sites, charge a commission, and organize the day-to-day running of those properties. And that's where my business was born. So Host My Home was born, and within 2.5 years, the unique business structure that I put in and the operations that I put in allowed me to scale up to 130 properties within 2.5 years. So it was what a ride, Ruben! What a ride!
There's so much to unpack there. Do you So you said you weren't enjoying what you're doing, and let me ask you, all these other business opportunities, right? Like the secretary, because I think, you're speaking to entrepreneurs right now, and I think there's this constant battle sometimes. Do you believe, Julie, that you got to love what you're doing, or do you got to use a vehicle that will help you get there? Like, what is your thoughts on that?
I think 100% you've got to be passionate about what you're doing, because you're going to be, who knows how long you're going to get in it for. You need to, and you are going to be doing this 24/7, folks. I did manage to get to the point where I was only working 10 hours a week in the last 12 months of owning the business that I own. So I sold just prior to COVID, for anybody that's listening in now. So good crystal ball. Maybe I should be a psychic and give out the lotto numbers. But I sold my business. And so I was only physically running properties for 3 years before I sold the business, wrote the book, now do coaching and mentoring. But I had to love it. I had to love the hospitality side, but it also had to be a mix of what problem was I solving out there, and how I viewed my position in the industry was as a matchmaker. I was looking at homeowners who loved the concept of short-term rentals. They wanted a piece of the Airbnb pie, but they didn't either have the time to do it, they didn't have the knowledge, or they didn't have the skills to perform being a manager. And being an instant hotel manager takes a lot for those listening in. So I was offering a service to them to solve that pain point. But then I was also marrying that up and matching it with budding entrepreneurs who I could put on as co-hosts underneath my umbrella business. And I could, like a franchise, I was able to put on these people that were interested in having a business opportunity where I was able to give them a portfolio of properties. They were able to take care of the guest communications, meet and greet the guests, clean the property, do the laundry, reset, and take ownership and pride of those homes, so that when they walked in after a guest had checked out, they could tell if something was broken, or they could see if something needed fixing. And they were looking after those homes as if it were their own. So what I was doing was being the conduit, being the matchmaker, putting the two sides together. And that was really the secret sauce of scaling up very quickly.
Yeah. Julie, I got to ask you, because I feel like you had a light bulb moment, but then you took it a step further, right? Like the Errand running business, was that just you when you were thinking about that, or were you also thinking of a scalable model? I just want to see how your brain works.
I was, but it was now the Errand running service was probably about 15 years ago. And I realize now looking back, I didn't have the skills to make it more than just, what I did, I replaced my job. So I replaced my income day to day, and it was great. I did want to scale up. I just couldn't figure out how.
So this was you. I'm sorry, you're saying for the Errand business, you actually found a way to replace your income?
Yes, correct. Yes. So
No kidding. You can't. We almost let that one slip through the cracks. I think it's important. I'm connecting the dots here. Come on, Julie, help me out.
So,
Wait, that's pretty neat. So were you doing, was that a sole like proprietor, like or did you bring in other contractors as well? Because I want to see how you think.
I was trying to figure out how I could bring other people in. And in fact, I had a bunch of people that I had in mind. I just didn't have the framework, Ruben. And I look back now and think, oh my goodness, I missed an opportunity there. I could have been the next Uber Eats.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. I love how you think though, because you're always thinking, let me ask you, secretary, was that a sole one-on-one?
So this is going back even further again. This is going back 23 years when my son was born.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how it was developed. So secretarial came first. I just wanted to earn some money, and I thought, okay, what's my skills? What am I good at? What am I bad at? What have I got opportunity? I've got a computer. I've got to do something at home because I've got a baby. So I knew I could type, and I knew I was creative enough to put resumes together or CVs together or do up letters for solicitors or for attorneys. And so I was able to type. I didn't at that stage think bigger.
Yeah.
The next business was the Errand running service. And I thought, okay, there's a pain point here. There's people that can't get out of their own home. They don't have a vehicle. They're too drunk. They need somebody to go and get their McDonald's for them. So I advertised that I would do that for a fee. And I was able to, well, even with the short-term rental industry, I actually got to the point where I was working with apartment managers and saying, let me get the groceries and put them in the properties before your guests arrive. So I was actually offering these services, but once again, I lacked the skills that I have now, and that was to get some systems in place, put a framework in place, put a team underneath me. And I think it's always very scary being able to afford to put on a team member and be able to grow a team, because as soon as you feel like you're just getting on top of things, you're starting to earn some money, you're buying yourself some nice things.
You have to pour it back in.
And you have to pour it back in. You have to reinvest. Yeah. And so it's a real roller coaster ride. But I just got the mix right with Host My Home, with the short-term rental industry, the business. I came in with all of the knowledge that I'd learned from these previous experiences and went, right, I know what we're going to do. I know how we're going to crush this. And boom, did I crush it.
Okay, two things. I might use this snippet as a new intro to the Real Estate Experiment Lab, because that's what experimenting is all about. And that wonderful accent that you have. I might have to give you royalties at some point. We'll figure that out offline. But I love how you just put that together. You said from the previous, what we would call in the lab experiment, you gathered some data and you moved it forward into the new operation. And I think you had the right model and the right framework and the right vehicle, which is why we have individuals like you in the lab, so that you can use the right vehicle within real estate to have your experiment flourish. So I was going somewhere with this, and the reason I went back to the root, there's a reason why I'm asking these questions, Julie, is because I want to see how you're thinking. And the reason I'm saying that is traditionally, or what we've heard or what we're used to, is those who end up scaling end up saying, hey, let me manage another property. Let me manage another one. Let me manage another one, right? And I'll have a bunch underneath. You took it a layer deeper. You created what you call property hosts. And just to give, our listeners some context is, there is a model and this is what I love about you, Julie. I'm going to, introduce this. Like, Julie, you're a host. You were the host. You had one account on Airbnb, and it was it was you, Julie, and you had multiple people ringing up the phone as Julie, right? Which I love.
That's right. Good memory.
But then you took it a step further and you're saying, okay, that's the front end. My back end is going to have property hosts. You want to talk about that? Because I think, I think you mentioned the scaling and you touched on it, but I don't know that our listeners are familiar, because we've had some short-term rentals individuals come in here and talk about buying, talk about co-hosting, great. But we're talking here a layer deeper, because we're talking about 130 properties here. So what does that look like? It's not just Julie here. You did something really unique and phenomenal. Want to talk about that breakdown of, I've heard you talk about the payout, the 6% and the cleaning fee. Oh, I do my homework, girl.
You're on to it. I'm very impressed, Ruben. I'm giving you an A+ for your homework.
I'm trying to be a good student and a good example for experimentation. So, Julie, like, how? First of all, like, yeah, like how'd you do that?
Well, let's break it down. I guess for
Yeah.
guests that are coming on Airbnb,
Yeah.
they were thinking they didn't know I was running a business. So I kept it all very one-on-one personal. So
Yeah.
my face and my profile, and folks, just to be clear, I was 100% Airbnb. So
Yeah.
I was just on one platform, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I love the reciprocal review system of Airbnb. Everybody's on their best behavior. The hosts, the guests, everybody behaves themselves. There was a host guarantee that meant that if any damages occurred in the property the guest didn't pay for, Airbnb paid for it. And thirdly, they just were a very supportive system, and they are a mega marketing machine. So why not partner with somebody like that who is going to go out there and find me all the guests?
Yeah,
So,
that's can I make a quick note on that? Because I think
please,
people sometimes talk about, hey, like booking direct and stuff like that. And I think it also goes back to thinking of, well, what's the consumer? What are we doing? Do we say, hey, let's book direct, or let me find this URL that I forgot? Or do we say, let's go to Airbnb? And I think that goes back in business to serving the user the way the meet the user where they currently are in their mind and where they're going. And I think that's important when we talk about business. So I do want to highlight that. I think that's really
absolutely.
important.
And you really don't have to sweat the small stuff. That if somebody's taking care of the marketing and getting you the guests, let them go and do that, and don't worry the fact that you're paying them a percentage. That's worth the investment. That means, folks, that all you have to worry about is finding more landlords or more property owners to give you their properties. So that's my big focus. That was my big focus. So purely when a guest was coming in, they were talking to Julie. And yes, I had all of my employees answering the phone as, hello, Julie speaking. Thank goodness I had all women working for me. Otherwise, it could have been a bit hard to explain. Hello, this is Julie. So we had everybody answering as Julie. Then I had co-hosts. Now the co-hosts would be introducing themselves. I would be giving my co-hosts, and I'll explain in deeper detail about what they were to do, but they would be answering the messages of the guests and saying, hello, my name is Glenn. I'm Julie's co-host. So for a guest, they just assumed Glenn was probably my father or my brother or my older lover, whatever. He was 72. So I just have to put that out there, folks. So that was my first co-host. But it was for a guest, there was one touch point of having Julie. Well, there was Julie or Glenn they had to deal with. That was it. They didn't think they were coming to a big business. But for the flip side, in the back end, we were setting up all these little pockets of portfolios. So by location, I would find Glenn, for example, my 72-year-old first co-host that came on. I gave him 10 properties within maybe a 10-mile radius of his home. So it was easy for him to take care of these 10 properties, take care of all the guest communications, take care of the meeting and greeting. And we did that in person. I know that's really bizarre because home automation these days, you can have lots of options, but I like to meet people in person. And
was that on purpose, Julie, that you had set it up that way? Like, did you want to put it, because I know you do things with a purpose. So I ask these questions because you think the way that you do for a reason. Was there a specific reason why you wanted to have that human touch point within that that transaction?
Rare. Ruben, it's such a novelty these days to have a human meet you, and not everybody wanted that. So we did have other options there if they didn't want to be met, or if they were coming in very late at night. But I got to say, when we were advertising and looking for new properties with property investors and homeowners, they loved the reassurance that we were going to eyeball every guest. We were going to watch for boom boxes coming in and kegs of beer. We were there, and we were able to meet these people, get to know them, form a rapport with our guests, and then our reviews were skyrocketing. We had so many 5-star reviews. So it works. It really works. So that was the theory behind that.
So how were you? What was the let's talk about the structure of these property. Let's talk about your back end for a second, because their front end is really neat. It's like, okay, Julie's face is everywhere. And then
Julie must be rich. She's got 130 properties.
And then we'll talk about that because Julie is rich. But well, right. No. But let's talk about, how did you put that into, how did you pitch that to Glenn, for example? Like, hey, and why? Okay, so I know why you did it, extra touch, but what was the actual agreement with a guy like Glenn?
So the actual agreement was, look, to be honest, I wanted to develop a business structure where I could work on my business, not in it. I knew my weakness was cleaning. I'm a terrible cleaner. So don't employ me as a cleaner, folks, if you're listening in right now and I apply for a job with you. Terrible cleaner. So I knew that I had to outsource and get people in to strengthen, and you surround yourself with people that enhance you. So I needed people that were good cleaners who were going to take responsibility of these properties and look after the whole process so that I could go out and do what I was best at. And what I was best at was to go out and talk to landlords, talk to homeowners and get more properties. So that was my main focus. But in order to do that, I had to find a way of empowering my team, how to drive loyalty, how to have them stick with me. I didn't want to teach them everything and then they go off and start their own short-term rental business. So I really decided that I was going to set up as like a franchise model. So I was going to teach people, give them a portfolio of properties that were close to home, give them an unlimited earning opportunity. So my deal was that I was just, to take it back one step further, I was charging homeowners 25%. So when the booking was coming in, I'm charging 25% and we're collecting the cleaning fee from the guest. My co-hosts, I was paying out 6% to them plus the cleaning fee. So 6% plus the cleaning fee would go to Glenn, who looks after 10 of my properties. And honestly, I could set and forget those properties. All I had to do was look at my phone, monitor the reviews, and see that Glenn was doing a great job by the reviews and the guest reviews. And
can I just want to jump, because you're jumping in so much value and you're so good at it. So I was like, let me wait. Are the property hosts also your cleaners?
Yes, correct. So they were doing
gotcha.
So meet and greet, guest communications, cleaning, laundry. They were doing everything and then restocking as well. So they would have the consumables that they would restock, and then also report any claims, because the claims need to be reported before the next guests come in. So it's really imperative that they are in there. They know that property. They know if something's broken, and then also making sure that property is in good repair. So they were doing everything. Now, the deal was I didn't mind how they went about doing the cleaning, if they were going to hire cleaners underneath them to conduct that.
That's their business.
The laundry. That's their business. I don't care. All I care about is getting good 5-star reviews, making sure my standards are met. So I was very strict with wanting, 5-star cleaning.
That keeps the business rolling. Let me ask you real quick on the front end, Julie. When you say they get the cleaning fee, are you still making a little? Obviously, you're marking up. So let's say it's $100 to clean. Are you charging 125 on?
No.
Or just a flat rate? You give them everything.
So that money would come in straight from the guest and it goes straight to the co-host. So I didn't see any of that, and I was very transparent with my co-hosts about that. The whole structure. So I'm very open. So what I knew that, for every booking coming in, I was collecting 19%. So charging 25, giving out 6, 19 was coming to me. Now, for what I had to do for it, once I had those properties set up and they were running self-sufficiently, I was only providing the consumables. We were dealing with the homeowners, we were looking after the pricing, and we were monitoring the listings and making claims to Airbnb.
Got it.
But that's 19%. Now, when it's all said and done, the employees that I had, and then I did have a physical office as well. Once I paid my expenses, out of that, 10% was profit. So out of everything coming into the business, averages were 10% were profit right into my pocket. Wow. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to this I'm so, thank you for being so detailed. I love it. I mean, you said 19.75%. I was like, my goodness, Julie, she is not messing around to the very cent here. This is the important question here. Are your property hosts also on the front end interface? Are they co-hosts as well on the front end, or is that just your team and there's some kind of calendar in the back that they only see?
No,
Curious.
so here's the thing. I was running 100% through Airbnb without any management software.
Oh, get out.
No other software. The
No
only
PMS, no
no
anything?
PMS, no channel managers, no.
What about locks
nothing.
and stuff? You had
No,
traditional?
I had a padlock, a key. Yeah, I had just very basic, nothing tech. The only tech I was using was Xero for my accounting, a real estate software, and Airbnb. So on the front end, a guest would see. So Glenn, he would be co-hosted through Airbnb, so he could see all the messages from the
that's
guests.
good.
But he wouldn't see the back end of the transaction history, for example. He wouldn't see the accounting side. That was only on the main profile. So
that's true. That's right. That's right. That's only on the main profile. So but either way,
beautiful.
You know why this is so good? I'm so sorry to cut you off. Julie, it's so good because I don't want anybody to have any excuses here. All right, simple. I want to let you keep going because you're on a roll here. But I just want to. I think sometimes we get, the analysis paralysis too. Is what I love is you got started, you collected data, you made some adjustments, you went. You didn't say, oh, I'm not starting because I don't know which PMS software. First of all, you don't need the PMS. Get started, guys. Get started and then refine. Yeah. So you like a lean business model. You like to know your numbers. Still to this day, you're like, Ruben, 19% to the very. That is phenomenal. So what I love about that is you're creating, everyone's kind of got skin in the game, and you're creating. I like what you said about the franchise model. Where did you get the inspiration from?
Look, I was working 100% commission selling phone book advertising, and I knew that if I could do something similar where I had people out there taking ownership and working with unlimited earnings, they're going to get out there and you're giving people an opportunity. So I really looked at it like, okay, well, McDonald's opens up franchises all over the world, and you know what you're going to get. So how can I replicate that and transition that into a short-term rental side of things? So I guess I was looking at businesses like that. I was looking at getting inspiration from even companies like Uber or Airbnb or Tinder. Let's talk Tinder. You've got people on both sides that have got pain points that you're just providing a solution. You're the matchmaker and you're being the middle person. It costs nothing, folks. It costs nothing to set up a website, to marry up and find two, be the solution and be the conduit. So that's really where it came from. But I just love the idea that we could take this structure anywhere. And Ruben, you were saying before that you host remotely. So you don't live in the same area your properties are. Well, you can take the model that I ran, you can put boots on the ground, you can have them out there. So the hosts that I had, I was paying them 6% just to do the day-to-day running of the business while I had employees to go out and find the properties and deal with owners. But here's the thing, what happens, and where are your properties? Are they in Atlanta? Atlanta. Okay, so how about in Atlanta, if we had somebody that was able to go out and chase new business, they went out and found new properties for you, did the appraisals, met with the homeowners, onboarded the properties, got the photographs, created the listings, did the inventory, then ran the properties for the guests. And then when the time comes to hand the properties back, you do the exit of the properties, and the Atlanta person would go and buy the consumables, hold the consumables. But guess what? We just pay them 10% instead of 6%. You're still making a lot of money. You're making 15% on having somebody else just run your model, run your business structure.
So in other words, you're providing, are you saying you're providing kind of like the blueprint and the turn, like, I guess what is the training? Training, consulting, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, correct.
Support?
So you would train them up. So Mr. or Mrs. Atlanta, we get them to come to where you are based, maybe spend 2 weeks with you to train up, to learn about your standards, what's expected. to follow a training manual. So I had what was called a playbook, and it's something that I teach my students now, that they've got to create a playbook or a business manual or a blueprint for your business, so that get everything out of your brain, put it down on black and white, so you've got something ready to go. So you can have somebody step in and run your business like that, or sell your business, which is exactly what I ended up doing.
Okay, so now you're speaking my language, because I just read Built to Sell. I don't know if you know that book.
No, I
What's the
haven't
name
read
of the
it, but
gentleman? It's a gentleman who, I love exit strategies. Like, that's why I love business, right? And I'm like, oh my God. So SOPs, right? Like that's the thing. You probably read the E-Myth, I'm sure. You sound like
yes,
the
I
E-Myth.
have read the
Okay.
yes.
So definitely the proof is in the pudding. Julie is building systems. You see where she's at now. You should be building systems as well. And it's as simple as documenting as a process and then even refining it along the way. That's super powerful. I heard you say a few words. You mentioned so many good things. So once you said unlimited. So I wanted to make sure I understood what you meant by that, because is the understanding, you said you wanted to work on the business and not in it. Now, you working on the business is still you providing those leads for more owners who are looking to, kind of leverage the exact same model and go through your operation. But I'm getting the sense that now that you gave me this Atlanta idea, that you were maybe, when you say unlimited business, did any of your property hosts also bring on more business?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, talk to me about that, because I gotta dig it out of you. They say you ask the right questions, you get better answers. You're like a knowledge machine here. I want to extract it from you. Okay, how are you doing that?
We need a series of podcasts. We're not going to fill this. Like, Ruben, book me in for another one.
I told you. I know. I got your copy, and I said you're already giving an hour of your time here, and that was the fee, right? You're so kind.
No, that's fine. So look, I view that everybody that comes onto your team, whether it be the handyman, whether it be the cleaner, whether it be the person answering the phones, they all need to be your salespeople. So you need to incentivize and you need to have them all out there looking for properties to bring on. So I would offer a finder's fee for anybody to be able to bring on more properties into my business. I offered $100 per house or $50 per apartment. I was pretty cheap, right?
And then they would get the 6% anyways. I know.
Then they get the 6%. So I had one girl, and let me tell you about unlimited earnings. She doesn't mind me telling you this, I'm sure. Maybe she'll find out.
No, tell us. Safe space. The lab is safe.
Natalie had 29 properties in her little franchise portfolio at one stage. So
this is with you.
This was with me. So she just loved my concept so much, and she could see the bigger vision. She was like, oh my goodness, I could make a fortune here. And she did. So with 29 properties, she kept coming to me with a business plan. Now that was my thing. If they were consistently getting good reviews on Airbnb, they were they had a business plan to be able to cope and had the capabilities to take on more properties, I would give them more properties. But on the flip side, if I was getting bad reviews and they weren't keeping up with the properties they had, we would take a property off the co-host. But Natalie, she had 29 properties at her peak. She employed cleaners under her. So she was collecting 6% plus the cleaning fee. She was paying her cleaners an hourly rate. So she had her mum and her sister and a cousin, I think, working for her. So she provided employment for all of these other people. She used a laundromat to do the laundry. That's fine. That gave her the capabilities of not having to be on the end of a toilet brush. She didn't have to make a bed. She just had to go around to each property every day and make sure it was ready for the next guest.
And again, she's the co-host, so she's on the front end. So
do you want to know how much money she was earning?
Oh my gosh, please
enlighten me. You're ready for this? So she was earning on average about $4,000 a week just by doing that. And she was still only working 40 hours a week, but she was just paying her team of cleaners to do all the work. So she had her little empire under my empire.
But see, that's so important, because what I love about this industry is that you're really able to, the more listings we get, the more jobs we give to people, the more, everybody wins. It really is. It's like, it's like, oh, wow, we got another listing. Oh, great. That's more work for people. So that's more money for everybody. Like, really, like for cleaners, it's like they want the calendar to be full. So there's so much good stuff. Let me ask you, let's go back to the front end for a bit, because You talked about, let's say, your playbook. What are some things for some listeners out there? Because you said branding, and obviously you do such a good job with your brand. I can look, guys, if you're driving, if you're listening to this, she has her book right over the left side of her shoulder, and she's sporting a very nice Legends X, which is her new one of a coaching program with a co-group of members of leaders in the space that have done what practitioners like Julie herself. So obviously you're doing a very good job of branding. What is good branding for you? What's the key takeaway when we talk about a listing, for example, that you can maybe leave some pointers for us? We're thinking we have some listings we want to optimize. What are some good standards? Because you've had over 130 listings, so you must be onto something. You must have some common denominators there with those listings.
Well, firstly, I guess the question that you're asking is probably twofold. Firstly, your own branding in the community is so important. You've got to, if you're a host looking to create a business, if you're wanting a side hustle, you can ignore the next 2 minutes of what I'm about to say. But if you want to build an empire, if you want to scale up your business so that you can replace your job and replace an income, or do what I did, create this empire that you can sell after 3 years and never have to work again. Cha-ching. I love it. So you can do this. You can create your personal brand in your community in such a way that you become the short-term rental expert. You become the go-to person. How do you do that? You need to give information. You need to be out there educating your community, and whether it is through social media posts, whether it is through a magazine article that you write, whether it is through helping people and getting the press and the media on board to show that you are, well, here's an idea. You could offer free consultations for anybody wanting to become a short-term rental host in the area. They've never been on Airbnb. Offer to become a consultant, but do it for free. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Do it for free, because Airbnb are going to give you a couple of $100 for every person you bring on through their referral program. Do it for free. Write a press release. Give it to your local media, your TV, your radio, your, get out there. Be seen to be giving information. The other thing I would say that you can take as an actionable step today, if you're listening in, join your local association. If there is a short-term rental association, join it. If there is not one, start one. Get on a Facebook page, create your San Antonio Short-Term Rental Association, your Florida Short-Term Rental Association, but become a leader in your community. And those who lead in the community own the space. So that's going to be the number one tip. But in terms of listings, and I know you and I could talk for hours on all of this, in terms of listings, I would say know who you're serving. You are not there to just take anybody into your properties, although that's exactly what I did in the beginning. Learn who it is that you're serving and then cater to that client, cater to that guest. And at the moment, my red hot tip for anybody in the short-term rental space is that, and get your pen and paper out, Ruben, I can see you're about to write this down.
Me.
My red hot tip is that we are seeing a massive change in the guests that are out there using short-term rentals. People like myself who can be nomadic travelers, who can work from anywhere, who are not needing to work from an office anymore. The pandemic has taught us that we don't have to be slaves to our cubicles. We can work in short-term rentals where there is fast downloadable Wi-Fi. So hosts, take a screenshot of your Wi-Fi speed and put it up as one of your first 5 lit photos on your listing. I guarantee that's going to work. Provide a space where people can work from, a desk space, a ring light, a monitor they can plug into, a scanner, printer. I can guarantee I'd pay $50 a night more for a property that had those amenities than the other properties that are listed on Airbnb. So there's my red hot tip for you. Know who you're serving, cater to that person, and get ahead of the game. Look at the trends in the marketplace, and the trends at the moment are the travel is opening up. People are going to you're going to have crazy Australians like me coming to your rental properties. So cater, fast Wi-Fi speed, workable space, and a cold bottle of wine in the fridge helps as well.
Ooh, I love that. How That's a really good. Gosh, that office one is so good. The Wi-Fi, just catering to the need, what people are looking for. I love that. Is there anything from aesthetically that you is there a colors? Is there a specific piece of furniture? Like how in when you have 130 properties and you're even helping, I want to talk about this. When you're even guiding or maybe consulting, your owner to buy furniture, are you is there specific colors that is there, like, what does that consultation look like? And I was going to ask you, do you out this is I'm doing it again, I'm stacking the questions, Julie, because I know you can handle it. do you outsource to somebody who has the eye, or did you develop the eye over time? Like, I'm curious, what do you say on a consult?
Look, we would offer that service as an extra service, and my property managers and my employees would go out, and so we would do a consult with an owner, and quite often we would have an owner on the phone saying, I've just purchased a property, it's a 2-bed 2-bath, it doesn't have any furniture in it, but we want to be with you. And so we would go out and inspect the property, we would look at the location, we would think about who are we best serving here. So is it the business traveler? Is it a family? So very different markets. Who's going to want to book and stay in this location in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom property? We would then come up with a quote of what we could do, what we would suggest for furniture and what level of furnishing. So whether we thought, okay, we really need to go ultra luxury here, we need the best coffee machine, we need a pull-out sofa to sleep 2 extra people, because it's all about beds on heads, heads on beds. Gosh,
no, I know what you're saying.
But we would actually look at how are we going to maximize the price and get the most out of this property for that homeowner. Put a quote together, make a suggestion. We would actually put photographs and say, we think that this lounge would be best suited. We think that this color scheme would be best suited. We're going to go Hamptons. We're going to go luxury. We're going to go coffee machine. And your budget for this, we need to spend between, we'd always give an average, $10,000 to $12,000. Plus, we suspect it's going to take 50 hours of our time to do the shopping and the setup, and we will charge you an hourly rate for that service. So we would probably do maybe 1 a month of those sorts of properties. But otherwise, we did have some strict standards in place. I would go into a property and I would say to my team as well, if you walked into a home and you didn't feel like you wanted to stay there yourself, we needed to make some serious suggestions to the homeowners. And if they balked at all, or if they showed any discomfort at spending money to fix up their property or to put new furniture in, walk away. It's not the right property for you. And I remember even the most beautiful property, it was a beautiful views, it was a mansion, $1 million mansion. I didn't get along with the owner. The owner was a difficult owner who wanted to discount my commission, and I just said, sorry, it's not the right property for us because we just can't. So folks, don't feel like every property is the right property. It's got to be one where we had they had to be air conditioned because we were in the tropics. It had to have good security because I wanted people feeling safe.
Right.
And it needed to have Wi-Fi. It needed to have, I had a bunch of standards, but also it needed to have personality. Not every property is the right property for short-term rentals. And personally, I own 3 properties that I never put on short-term rentals because they're boring. They're boring little boxes. But the more unique, the better. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of themed properties now, which if you can do a theme and you can do it classy, don't do it tacky, do a classy theme with an Instagrammable wall. Everyone loves a selfie. So if you can provide that sort of fun environment where it might be a bachelorette place that has some fun stuff there.
A good friend of mine has a huge butterfly wall in Nashville, and there's a lot of bachelorettes parties there. So what do? They book it, they take the picture with the wings, like a mural. It's phenomenal.
We might be talking about the same person then. Not Travis, is it? Or
no, it's Mike.
Oh, there we go. So
shout out to Mike. Not Mike. I know there's so many Mikes. Not Shogun. Shout out to Mike. We love Shogun. Not him. Mike Elefante. Shout out to Mike. He's doing some phenomenal stuff.
It's there's some really amazing hosts out there doing some fun stuff. And Probably one of my favorite Netflix shows at the moment is the world's most amazing vacation rentals. Folks,
Oh,
if you
yeah,
haven't got
yeah,
onto
yeah.
that show, Luis from Million Dollar Listing New
Yeah,
York,
he's on there. That's
he's
right.
on there.
Yeah.
But they go and stay in some incredible
Oh
like
my
tree
gosh.
houses, like the Bolt family tree
Yeah,
house,
yeah, yeah.
are friends of ours. Um, Boats, there's an incredible boat. So anywhere you can sleep, people, you can
Yeah.
make money out of on this sharing economy. So, but take inspiration, do it well, and but have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Have some fun with designing and dressing it up. And if you don't have an eye for design, outsource. Find somebody who's really good at
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Do you you talk about a lot of those decisions, and I know some of them are luxury, some of them in the middle. For you, what drives that decision? Were you looking at a specific budget? Were you looking at specific what made you say, hey, let's spend more on this and let's spend less? Was there anything? I know you're very I asked because I know you think a certain way, so I kind of want to just get behind that thought process.
So
Was there anything in particular?
it was really what was working and really
Mm,
doing our homework between AirDNA, using the
yeah.
AirDNA software, or having a look just purely using the Airbnb platform and looking and seeing what properties are getting booked, because you can actually look at the forward 2 months of a calendar of all your competitors. So you
Hmm.
can actually see what's being booked, what the reviews are saying, what people like, what people dislike, but watch the trends in the marketplace, stay on top of the trends. But in those, by forming a local association or joining a local group, get talking to other hosts. Do not see other hosts as competition. Collaborate. We mentioned it before. There is enough work to go around. And if we can all support each other and say,
Yeah.
this is working, we're getting lots of business travelers, or we're getting lots of sports fans coming in for the sporting events. So theme it like your favorite sporting club. Put up the colors of your favorite football team. That could work.
Oh gosh. Listen, Julie, you always over deliver, and I really want to respect your time. So, we're right here at the top of the hour. I want to ask a question from the audience, and I want to get into the core rapid fire round, and we'll go on to follow your journey, because I think we can go in deep. And honestly, like I said right before the call, you're like, Ruben, you bought my book. Of course I bought your book. I can't get enough. I'm gonna get you on the air. I'm gonna, get you,
So awesome.
connect with you in the clubhouse and all that stuff. Real quick, we got one question for the audience. I'm not sure if how often you've gotten into this, but how do you structure a partnership, and who is responsible for the repairs, furnishing, etc.? How is everything split? Also, in partnering, how did you structure your LLC, if that's applicable?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about who's responsible for the property and the repairs, maintenance, the owner. So this is where it's the beauty of short-term rentals management model.
You're the best. I just want to let you know. The owner.
The owner, don't you pay for anything? Don't you put your finger in your pocket for anything?
Yeah.
It's the owner, the homeowner. If they want their property listed on Airbnb or short-term rentals, they are paying. You are just taking a portion of you're taking your commission on the bookings, but
Yeah.
they need to keep the property in good repair. And what we would do is I had very clearly on my contract, so you've got to have some good paperwork and set some guidelines with your homeowners straight from the beginning. And if anybody's struggling with that side of things, on my website, milliondollarhosts.com.au, we'll put the link in there later,
Yeah.
but you will find that I actually even sell the templates of all the documents that I used in my business. So you can actually download a Word document and just use the same form that I would use with the homeowners to make sure that they understood that they were responsible for repairs, they were responsible for keeping the maintenance, replacing homewares, pillows need replacing every few months. So I would actually just say anything less than $100, I'm going to go ahead and do without the consent of the owner, but anything more expensive, I would get consent. But if there was an emergency, let's say the hot water system blows up, I'm replacing that. I'm replacing that and taking that out of the owner's income for the following month, because we cannot operate that property unless everything's working perfectly. So, that's to do with the owners. But then LLC. Okay, so you do need to register an LLC to run this business, and make sure you do have your LLC. Make sure you abide by any regulations in your area as well. Find out whether you need to be a registered real estate agent running a trust account. I had to do that, so I can help you with that if anyone's interested. But
or even licenses out there now that they're coming up with some licenses sometimes.
Licensing regulations, you need to do your due diligence before you start this business and check to see whether you can, New York, there's, the regulations are in place. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
No,
we stay away from New York. We can't. Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, if you're in New York, I'm sorry, but I invest out of state.
It's just too hard. And so you need to really find an area that you can work in that's going to allow short-term rentals, be supportive of short-term rentals. And then if you want to package your business up to sell, as I did, you need to have the LLC. You need to have all your ducks in a row. You need to have everything ready to go to hand over to the new owners.
Oh, that's so exciting. I love you saying that. Core rapid fire questions are real quick. You have a lot of knowledge that's coming on. Give me, what's your favorite book? You got one that comes to mind? Top of mind?
All right. Well, I do. I have got one right in front of me. Woo, there's a little teaser. Get Paid for Your Pad. Okay. So if you're not going to read $1 Million Host by Julie George, I want you to read Get Paid for Your Pad. Now, this was inspiration for me when I first started. It was about the only resource available in 2016 when I started my business. But Jasper, the author of Get Paid for Your Pad, he and I are the coaches on Legends X. So if I did say any other book other than Get Paid for Your Pad, he would never talk to me again. So, but Get Paid for Your Pad is probably my.
I love that. Support the lovely community. Yeah. The best habit that serves you every day, Julie.
Achieve just one thing per day. Be able to go to bed at night feeling like you've achieved something. Now, even if it's just something small like reading all your emails or clearing a backlog of messages, feel like you achieve something every day. Set your mind to it and then achieve, and then and you'll feel better for it. You're going to it'll lift you up. So achieve.
Absolutely. If you could describe a successful host or even a co-host in one word, what word would you pick?
Hospitable. It comes back to we were talking before about that personal interaction. I feel that even if it's just a personal interaction on communication, you've got to build a rapport, but hospitable host is probably the one key word I would say, hospitable.
Love that. And last but not least, I got to ask you, this one is brought to you by Invested Talent, our team here, who's going to do a wonderful job of putting this podcast out. But I got to ask you, you do such a good job with your branding, et cetera. And, how important or how effective, maybe even after the business, has social media been for you? I mean, I know that's so reconnected, but like how impactful that has that been for you to be that key person of influence that you are today?
Yeah, absolutely imperative. Mind you, I've only just figured out how to use Instagram. So
I remember I was telling you, I'm like, this is powerful. You're like, Ruben, I just got on this silly application. I'm like, no, this silly application that you speak of has really transformed my business and really being able to give me proximity to you. I would have never met you if it was for Clubhouse. I mean,
Clubhouse has been magic, and Clubhouse being it's audio before visual. It's you don't have to dress up. Half the time I'm talking to 100 people on Clubhouse, giving them my knowledge, giving them my tips while I'm doing my housework. So folks, don't be afraid to get onto Clubhouse. But I think it's really important to use social media to leverage your current success to drive forward your next project or to give you the next opportunity. And for me, my story of success in my business was able to help me write a best-selling book. My best-selling book has opened up doors to now get me onto worldwide stages. Here I am, a girl in Australia, being able to mentor, inspire, and support hosts worldwide. But it's all thanks to social media. It's all thanks to, even lucky we've got Zoom at the moment. But folks, don't be afraid of it. Get on there. If you are a host, you're listening right now, you get a good review, I want you to screenshot that review, put that on a social media post, and be proud. Do not be afraid to shout your successes out there, because what will happen, people will want to buy in to that success. They will want a piece of you, and you will be front of mind when it's time for them to think, I want more returns from my investment. I want to be part of this short-term rental sharing economy. They're going to come to you if you're there on social media talking about it.
Oh, for sure. And Julie, we'll continue to come back into your world in any way that we can. If you're listening to this, you can tap in more into milliondollarhost.com.au. Make sure you get that copy. Do not play yourself. $1 Million Host. Julie's done this for herself. She's good. I mean, she's chilling. She's here to help us and help you. And obviously, she has tons of fun doing it because she's just, again, like I said, just such a loving individual. Julie, I could have you here for another hour, but I know you got some stuff to get cooking on. You got some big fish to fry, and so
it's 9 a.m.
Is it
here in
9
Australia.
a.m.?
You know what? I've probably got to go and have a massage, get my nails done.
Look at that. You see,
I'm living the life now, folks. And if any of you are on social media, just jump on social media, see what I get up to. And it's, I'm living the life.
You are, and you're just such an inspiration, and you've been just such a good coach, friend, teacher, and bit of that virtual friend. I'm going to continue to send you those updates on Instagram. We got to keep doing that. And I look forward to joining. I know you do a very good job of hosting. If you're on Clubhouse, make sure you go look out for Julie George. She's over here just hosting these wonderful rooms and giving opportunities for people to ask questions and come up. I haven't been in Clubhouse for a while because I've been in the trenches.
It might be about time I got you up on stage every Sunday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. Folks, look out for Ruben. Ruben will be a guest speaker very, very soon.
Thank you so much. I'll take you up on that. We've been so busy. We just closed on another STR, and here in Atlanta, I don't know if you know the baseball. The Atlanta Braves won the World Series, and we just closed on a unit that's literally 2 steps away from the stadium. So we're doing a little themed house for that, and then we're under contract for another one. So we got a busy Q4, and all this is all inspiration. I gotta tell you, I remember this time last year listening to you. I think it's episode 9. Shout out to the boys at Short Term Rental Secrets. I was like, this lady's got it down pat. And then next thing you know, everyone's in COVID and we're all connected on Clubhouse, and it's just been such a nice journey. And I just love seeing people like you flourishing and touching other people and making it bigger than yourself. I think, I got a quote here for you that I think you'll appreciate. It's not about you. It's about who loses if you don't win. And I think you really had that in your business model, where you really had the property host really taking on their own business. There's no one else that I know who's done that. And that's why I had to get you here in the lab and hear it from you. But I'm going to tap in more into that book. I just got it myself. I will be finishing it end to end. I will be posting about it. Where else? I know you're doing some Legends X. Where else can folks tune in a little bit more? I kind of gave you what I knew, but what else do you got cooking that you want to share with us before we parlay here?
Look, I'm really getting my thrills now out of seeing other people succeed and replicating that same success that I've had. So I'm now coaching programs through the Legends X guys, Eric Moeller, Jasper Rivers. But if anybody's interested, they can jump on overnightsuccess.io, or just find me on social media. You'll see links through to Legends X. But we take people for 90 days. You get me as a one-on, like basically coaching you, taking you through, helping you go from a hectic host, maybe working 24/7, juggling everything, to being able to work on your business, not in it. So very similar to what I'm doing, being able to work, that last 12 months of running 130 properties, I worked 10 hours a week. I would turn up to my office and the girls would say, "What are you doing here? Don't touch anything." I want to help you be in that same position. So folks, connect with me on social media, LinkedIn, but the book is available on Amazon. Please, if you read it, you like it, leave a review. I got some guy the other day who didn't like it and called me a drunk soccer mum. So folks, if you like the book, can you please leave me a review to bump that troll down? But if you didn't like it, just tell me or tell Ruben, but that's it. But Ruben, thank you for the opportunity to speak on your show. I'm so excited to finally make it to the lab. And I just, I love what you're doing in this space, and I just would encourage anybody else to jump on in, come and join us. The time is now.
It is now. And you are more qualified than anyone, because you are speaking to us in the future, and you've told us when you came in here that the future is bright. So thank you, Julie. and we'll make sure, again, that's overnight. Again, that's overnightsuccess.io. Tap into Julie and her wonderful mastermind and her colleagues there who are doing some very, very unique things. And just like that, we are out.